Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the October 31st, 2020 Halloween edition of Pro Wrestling Throwdown. This is Luke the Big Dog Williams. I'm Caleb Black, our in-studio producer, the mighty Max Fury, and we are talking about gimmicks.
So, question.
Yes.
As pale as you look in the screen,
Yes.
you would be the vampire. With my
As
beard,
scruffy as you are,
I would be the werewolf, and Max is the ghost.
Yeah. We could start our own supernatural investigation team right now, except we can only do it at night. Because I can't go out.
That's right. And it had to be a full moon, or I couldn't.
That's why I've got the blackout.
We would be the most ineffective.
Just you're one of those weird vampires that sparkles in the sun.
No, I don't sparkle. I glisten.
He does glisten.
And gleam.
He's rather glistening.
It's almost divine.
Somebody call RoboCop.
We're talking about wrestling gimmicks, guys. Halloween is always a time for costumes, monsters, superheroes, you name it. You can find it on Halloween, and pro wrestling is much like Halloween all year long. Everybody's got a gimmick, everybody's got a costume. So we are talking about our personal top 3, commutative top 9, and then the communal agreement on the number 1, just wrestling gimmicks that translate to Halloween. If you want to go out and buy a costume, you could. You can wear that costume all year round like some of these guys do. Plus, we're going to talk about some of the spooky stuff, some of the scary stuff, some of the not-so-scary stuff that happens in wrestling when it comes to gimmicks like this. So let's jump right into it. We've got an extensive list of honorable mentions, which we'll get into, but we're all going to pick our top 3 favorite just gimmicks that, again, equate to monsters, superheroes, you name it. Just something kind of fun and something to fit the theme of Halloween.
And then to round out the top 10, we'll all commutatively
agree on the number 1. We are leaving The Undertaker, Kane, Mankind, the higher echelon of these gimmicks whose longevity is insurmountable, off of this list strictly because we know that they top out at number 1. Same with the Japanese Great Muta, the Crow Sting. They all existed in their universes, and we all know The Undertaker's the greatest dark gimmick in wrestling.
Yeah.
Dark or otherwise. It's the greatest gimmick of all time, so why would we put that as the number 1 when we all know it? So this is just a different spin on the conversation.
Right.
Max, why don't you go ahead and give us one of your...
Give us number 10, Max.
Your number 10 pick for gimmicks in wrestling that were your favorite.
I was always a fan of the goofier ones. I went that direction.
So fucking surprised.
What, really?
So I got to go at number 10. I got to say Hornswoggle.
He's a leprechaun.
He is.
It does qualify. His original gimmick was that of a leprechaun.
Not to mention he played the leprechaun.
He did play the leprechaun.
I thought it was hilarious. I loved every time you have Hornswoggle come in from just
out of
nowhere.
I think
out of nowhere. Crawl under the ring, crawl out of wherever.
Until they brought it back, he was the last cruiserweight champion.
Yes.
And he's also one of Vince McMahon's illegitimate children, who was later proved to be one of Finley's illegitimate children.
Yes.
Who was later proved to not be Finley's illegitimate child. It was such a train ride is the Swoggle.
I did dig Hornswoggle, though. That's fantastic.
Big Dog, give us number 9.
Number 9 is I'm going to go with a collective because it's just how this has to be. I'm going with the Mortal Kombat-esque characters from WCW. That would be Glacier, Mortis, and Wrath. Who
were effectively, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and Reptile.
Pretty much.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, the gimmicks, well, first off, Glacier coming out with the ice and everything.
I'm going to tell you right now, entrance-wise alone, is one of my favorite entrances.
This is actually proven it was the most expensive entrance
WCW ever did.
The cool thing about it is everyone immediately thought Sub-Zero.
Yeah.
The cool part about that is that Acclaim, Midway, who invented the Mortal Kombat licensing and stuff, they used Glacier, were allowed to do what they did with Glacier because Nitro was a lead-in to the Mortal Kombat Live series, Mortal Kombat Legacy.
Yep.
And the reason that they introduced these gimmicks was to tie in with the Mortal Kombat show that would come on after Nitro.
Because Turner Media also produced the Mortal Kombat movies.
Yeah, because they
played them in syndication.
Yeah, TNT had the rights to the TV show.
Yep.
Cool tie-in. Probably one of the first times something like that's been done.
I think that's really one of the only times something like that's been done. With
the exception of Turner owning some kind of stock in the whole RoboCop fiasco. We won't get into that right now because I'd probably
that's later.
But yeah, no. So Mortis, who eventually become Canyon. Wrath, who eventually was originally Atom Bomb. and of course Glacier, who was originally Glacier.
And it's still Glacier. He wrestled like a Chikara show like 5 years ago.
He was in
5 or 6 maybe?
He was in the AEW Casino
Battle Royal, that's right.
He was in Ring of Honor's Honor Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
He just keeps popping up. And no one ever asked for him to.
The cool thing, I remember when he did that debut at Chikara, because they were doing, I think it was like a tournament or something, and he was a surprise entrant. And the pop that the crowd gave, because Glacier definitely fits that model, was so cool.
Glacier was super over when he first started, and they didn't push it.
They had him wrestle Goldberg like 4 or 5 times on Nitro alone, or 3 times that I remember specifically. I'm going to come in with the number 7 spot. Number 8 spot with Gangrel, the Vampire.
Fair enough.
One of the first big mainstream vampire gimmicks, would do the blackout, the bloodbath, had the brood with the Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, still wrestles today. Really cool guy. I was about
to say, you could also add the brood in.
The brood, the spooky, the vampire. I loved the fucking bloodbath stuff. I thought that I was at that time between 7 and 10 years old, so that was right up my alley. I love monsters, and Gangrel's just fucking cool, man.
He should have been pushed, and he was.
Even created the new brood on the independent scene with Alex Castle and Matt Cage, 2 guys I know.
Well, he also had the new brood with Jeff and Matt Hardy.
Yeah, so Gangrel, number 8. Maximilian, give us your number 7, baby.
Well, while I gotta say Gangrel should have been ahead in it, my next one was go back to TNA to Shark Boy. I enjoyed the hell out of Shark Boy.
You know what the wondrous thing about Shark Boy is? Not only did he have the shark gimmick, but he also had the Stone Cold Steve Austin gimmick.
The Stone Cold Shark Boy gimmick.
So, I mean, it worked on multiple levels.
It was clam juice, right? That they would throw into the drink?
Yes.
And just can after can.
Give me a shell, yeah.
Give me a shell, yeah. And actually, it got over on their TV for a long time. I don't know how the hell they got away with it.
There was a point where I thought they were legitimately going to strap a title around it.
You know what my dream match always was at that time? Stone Cold Shark Boy versus Gilbert.
Oh, I'd have paid money.
Think about it. Would have been so good.
I'd have paid money for that. just that match, just to have that match.
Luke, turning it back over to you for number 6.
All right, number 6. Let me see what the list looks like here. I'm going to go with The Fiend.
Ooh.
The Fiend on a lot of people's lists would be higher.
Yeah.
I think that's an easy cop-out. So I'm going to go with The Fiend early.
Yeah.
What is a Fiend and Bray Wyatt? I guess you could throw in.
Sorry to say, Bray Wyatt was just as spooky and good as the
cult leader thing was great. The Fiend thing is the best thing on WWE television, with the exception of Roman Reigns
and Randy Orton
at this point. And Randy Orton is a cast all on his own.
Damn right.
High five. Yeah. And by the way,
I remember this.
Uh-huh.
I started this Randy Orton love.
The point.
I started this.
Better remember.
You're right. I'm sorry.
The Fiend on Monday night stood behind Randy Orton, and Randy Orton just was like, "Yeah, no, I'm good." Honestly, The Fiend with a list like this, you would be remiss not to have The Fiend on it. So
I agree, and it's still one of the spooky gimmicks they protect and do very well.
Also, they're using that gimmick to turn people into heels and everything. I find it fantastic.
I'm going to come in with my pick. Some may disagree, and that's cool for them to be wrong.
Would this be number 5, correct?
No, this would be number 6.
6, okay.
I think. Wait, hold on. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because 4, 3, 2, 1. Vampiro, sticking with my vampire gimmicks, but it was WCW's Vampire. Again,
not to be confused with ECW.
Kevin Thorne. Every major promotion needs a vampire.
WWE had several.
Yeah, they were just sucking the blood out of everything.
They sucked, that's for sure.
I love Vampiro. I'm still a huge Vampiro fan. Actually, we exchanged Twitter talkage between the two of us. And the cool thing about him was he started the vampire gimmick in Mexico in 1980. What, 83 or 84?
Depends on if you believe Vampiro or not.
Yeah. It's like 19 or 18.
Right.
He was around with George Russell.
But I loved, as a kid, especially the Vampiro versus Sting thing. I know that now it does not translate well, but as a kid, when you're like, oh, the Crow Sting versus the Vampire, this is good shit, pal. I love Vampiro. So Vampiro's my number 5. Maximilian, number 4.
one of my absolute favorites all time, the Hurricane.
Is a superhero. So it definitely qualifies.
He also was
Shane Helms.
He also was more powerful than the Scorpion King. Those things between him and The Rock. Look at you. You look like the Hamburglar.
Of just ever. Just some of the greatest.
Oh my God,
favorite Hurricane moment is when he tries to double choke slam Triple H and Stone Cold.
That was the Rumble, wasn't it?
They both sell the grab, and the crowd's going crazy. They both just kind of slowly fucking hands off me.
Again, I gotta hanker back my favorite. Him and The Rock having that discussion in the locker room, where he's like, "What is your superpowers?" And The Rock's like, "Whoa, easy, big fella." You know, looking like the Hamburger. Fantastic. Fantastic. The Hurricane was so good.
Luke, give us number 3.
Number 3 would be the Boogeyman.
And he's coming to get ya.
I want to be part of DX. Get the back. I mean, there's not many more Halloween-esque gimmicks that you could name that Boogeyman wouldn't be in the top 5.
Got another OVW graduate under the tutelage of one James E. Cornette. That's right. That's another name drop.
Also, I love the fact that he had lied about his age.
On Tough Enough. It told him he was 30.
Told him he was 30 when he was clearly 40.
That's when he had the horns and just the eye makeup and shit.
Yeah, I also love the story of the Boogeyman in OVW.
Was it Santino?
Santino Marella's sitting in the front row, and the Boogeyman's supposed to go on this big tear, scare the kids and shit, and go through the crowd and everything. Santino Marella just sits there.
That's what started the Cornette Santino fight in the airport.
And he was so pissed off because he didn't sell the fact that the Boogeyman had went through the crowd. And Santino's just like, I didn't know I was supposed to.
I didn't know I was supposed to be
I didn't
scared.
know I was supposed to be scared, but okay.
Right.
You know. Who do you think you are, John Cena?
John Cena. Ray Mysterio. Are you the Batman? Number 2, for me, Abyss. The Monster Abyss. Obvious elements of both Mankind and Kane, but it was TNA's only organic gimmick that they created at that time.
And not to mention, also, you had the Superman-esque gimmick, where, he was Joseph Park, and then he was Abyss.
And then he was Abyss.
You could also throw in the fact, what gets more Halloween-esque than Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde?
That's right. Exactly.
Kind of the play that they used,
Not to mention responsible very early on for the really brutal, hard-hitting, hardcore matches that you want to see monster characters have.
Yeah.
We're going to go through a quick list of honorable mentions before we get to the number 1 spot that we pick because we're running on time. Obviously, we already said Undertaker, Mankind, Kane, Vampiro, Sting. I'm sorry, we already said him. The Great Muta, the Road Warriors with the face paint, the Ultimate Warrior, the Ugandan Giant Kamala, the Giant, El Phantasmo, Max Moon, the Robot, the Ding Dongs, the Oddities, the Dungeon of Doom, the entire collective, the Kiss Demon from WCW, the Finn Balor's Demon. The list goes on and on and on. Papa Shango, Doink the Clown. But right now,
the
Ninja Turtles, our number 1 spot for spooky, Halloween-y character gimmicks is Goldust. Not just for Goldust, but Dustin Rhodes as Goldust, as Black Rain, as Seven, as his remake of himself when he did the Texan Goldust in TNA. Talk about a guy who lives in gimmick and has so many creative ideas and fun characters.
Talk about a man. Cornbread, damn it.
Cornbread, damn it. Cornbread.
The best thing about this, I like to say we're running short. The best thing about Goldust at one point in his career was so into the Goldust character that he had actually brought up the idea to Vince McMahon to get breast implants.
Talk about dedication. Guys, we got to wrap this up or we're going to talk forever. We're going to run out of time. Thank you so much for the Halloween specials. Let us know what you think of some of your let us know what you think about some of those wrestling characters via email at prowrestling@gmail.com, Facebook at facebook.com/prowrestling_throwdown, Twitter at prowrestlingtd. Leave us a comment down below after you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the top 5 Halloween fails coming up next.
Cornbread, damn it.
Cornbread.